it's very easy. It's most typical that almost every earthly living being or living being in this universe generally are the tendency is always going to be seek out sense gratification.
Mm-hmm.
The better that we're at, the better that we are accomplished at seeking out sense gratification, the more successful we are at life. The yogis don't see it that way. The yogis are watching everybody doing that and still watching everybody suffer. And so they've identified that there's no. Sense gratification is not the goal of life because you are not your body. So by satisfying your body, you're not satisfying yourself. And it's the ego that kind of like bonds our sense of identity, our sense of self to the body. It's a force of nature that influences us, pushes us towards this connection of the body being the self. And yet, no matter what we try to do through sense gratification, we never find that peace, we never find that happiness, we never find contentment, deep joy.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Sri Mayapur in West Bengal, India, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast. I'm your host today, Kaustubha Das, with our special guest host, Kishori Gopi, and our special guests, well, we don't really have a title for it, but sometimes we just say, running the show, or we're going to say spinning the dials. Linda's spinning the dials today. Welcome, Linda. How are you doing?
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Prabhu. Great to be here with you as always.
Okay. Kishori Gopi, welcome to you. Coming in from Vermont.
Coming in from Vermont. Haribol, so happy to be here with you as always and to serve and support and not fill Raghu's shoes. That's not possible, but just to be a little something to support you.
A little bright light from Vermont. Vermont is known for having the world's highest quality maple syrup.
Sure is. Approved. Blind taste test approved.
Yes, blind taste tests have been done with the Canadian
yes.
maple syrup. Now we have Canadians here with us today. We don't want to create any kind of strife or discord or conflict, but blind taste tests have been done according to Kishori Gopi, and
the results don't lie.
Okay, the results don't lie. Well, welcome to you. Have you ever made maple syrup yourself?
I've gone and helped maple syrup being made, so I've seen the process. What's that?
You stirred the pot.
I stirred the pot. I even helped get some sap out of the trees. Oh. A friend of mine used to do it down in southern Vermont. Yeah.
You helped get it out, like you tapped them?
Well, yes, and took the pot. The little.
Oh, I see. You brought in the pot.
Tin from the tree. Yeah.
It must feel so authentic when you do it that way.
It does. I mean, I'm certainly no expert. I'm an expert at consuming maple syrup, but I did see it happen once.
There's a story about Srila Prabhupada and maple syrup.
Oh, please tell it.
Because I think just within some of the ancient texts, the idea of getting sap from trees isn't considered like the highest level food or something. I don't know. Certainly they do make like date gore out of it here in Bengal and so on. Have you had that before?
Date gore?
Oh,
I don't think so.
See, they have the palm trees here.
Yeah.
The date palm trees.
Yeah.
And they also tap them. And then you've had like jaggery before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like a raw sugar that's made out of sugar cane. But in Bengal, they also have these date palm trees and they make gore out of that, or they make this raw sugar out of that. Oh, this stuff is nice. I'm telling you.
Really?
You would appreciate. Yeah, you would appreciate.
Okay.
It's like it kind of is almost like maple sugar candy, just like on its own. It's got a really nice flavor.
Yeah. Do you add it to your tea?
I don't drink tea generally, but but I suppose I could. One time I brought a chunk of it home and I made parathas stuffed with that, and that stuff, when you have it hot, it melts in your mouth, and it was like really, really good.
Wow. Very
Okay, just
nice.
a little raw sugar,
Thank you
unrefined
for that.
sugar. Yeah, sharing here with you. Something you need to investigate next time you're in town.
I
Okay.
will.
So, but we've got important things to discuss today. But before we do, well, not that this isn't important, but Linda, are there any announcements today?
I do have an announcement. So, if Wisdom of the Sages has been helpful in your life and you'd like to contribute to our work, please log on to wisdomofthesages.com and become a supporting member of our Sage community platform. We are community supported. And for a minimum $5 monthly contribution or a maximum donation of whatever your heart desires,
Yes.
you'll get access to a wide range of live and archive classes, community chat, merch, retreat registrations, and much, much more. So log on to wisdomofthesages.com. Just in the last month, we've added 4 classes from India, 2 classes from Nepal. We've got a 60 pages of poetry from Dravida Prabhu that
Oh,
he sent in. So there's just a lot
that's
of
worth the 5 right
really
there.
sweet content.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So log on to wisdomofthesages.com and join today.
Thank you, Linda. Very professionally done. You're getting really good at this. Okay. Now, this I think will be the first time that we've had a nugget in like over a month.
Long
I think,
time.
yeah, last time we did it, we were all back in New York. Up until now, we've always had a lot to talk about what's going on in India. But you have a nugget for us today?
I do.
Who's it
Yeah,
from?
it's from Friedrich Nietzsche, a German
Okay,
philosopher. And
that's
yes,
right.
I practiced pronouncing his name.
Okay.
Friedrich Nietzsche.
What does he have to say?
He says that whenever I climb, I am followed by a dog called ego.
Whenever I climb. Interesting. When I read that at first, I thought it said wherever I climb. But
Mm,
whenever. I kind of like wherever I climb better. Like no matter how high you climb,
right.
you get followed by a dog called the ego. Sometimes dogs can be, you can't shake them. Like
They're loyal. They're
yeah, they're
loyal.
yeah. I almost talked about this on the show last week, but there's that morning. I don't know if you heard that show, but oh, by the way, Narayani is congratulated on your pronunciation, Kishore, and she's
Thank you,
German
Narayani.
or Swiss. Yeah. I was that morning. I just started walking around Govardhan and decided I got to keep going.
Mm.
And a little puppy dog, started following me, like unusually,
Oh.
like it was sniffing my legs and jumping around my legs, which is unusual for an Indian dog to do. Usually
Did
they
you
just
have some
keep.
of those sweets in your pocket? Some of that.
I had nothing. I didn't. At first, I just thought I'll just keep walking and it'll give up. It was a very cute little puppy, and and it just wouldn't stop. And it wasn't even just like hanging around me. It was like kept like sniffing my legs, like jumping at my legs, and I didn't know what it was trying to communicate. Like it's not like I'm walking around carrying food or something. I didn't know what it wanted.
Hmm.
And finally, I just had to come right down to its level and say, "Okay, Mr. Dog, um, who are you, and what is your message for me? Is there
Wow.
something you wish to say?" And I guess after that, it left me alone. I think I don't know what it needed, but
It wanted your attention and love.
maybe wanted a little attention, just a little attention. But dogs do like that, and I think whether we're going to say whenever I climb or wherever I climb, this thing called ego comes with you. What does it mean to be a success in life? Srila Prabhupada had a little slogan. He said, and Shelter once put this on a shirt. There was a Shelter shirt, and those straight edge kids, they have like all kinds of like special tastes. Like exactly what a T-shirt's supposed to be like, exactly what a pair of sneakers is supposed to be like, a sweatshirt. And it was a good design. This shirt, it had the picture of Mahavishnu on the front, but I think down the sleeves, it may have said something like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya or something. It was like a long sleeve T-shirt.
Okay.
And I think on the back, it said self-realization, not sense gratification.
Did you have one? Did you have one
No,
of
I
those
never
shirts?
had one. No, I was a brahmachari all those years. I didn't wear that kind of stuff. But
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wore dhotis. But in any case, I once saw a sadhu in Vrindavan wearing that shirt. I was impressed.
Wow.
Yeah. But this idea, like self-realization being the goal, it's easy, it's very easy. It's most typical that almost every earthly living being or living being in this universe generally are the tendency is always going to be seek out sense gratification. The better that we are accomplished at seeking out sense gratification, the more successful we are at life. The yogis don't see it that way. The yogis are watching everybody doing that and still watching everybody suffer. And so they've identified that there's no. Sense gratification is not the goal of life because you are not your body. So by satisfying your body, you're not satisfying yourself. And it's the ego that kind of like bonds our sense of identity, our sense of self to the body. It's a force of nature that influences us, pushes us towards this connection of the body being the self. And yet, no matter what we try to do through sense gratification, we never find that peace, we never find that happiness, we never find contentment, deep joy.
Right. The Bhagavad-gita says, right, in chapter 6 about how the mind influenced by the ego can either be your friend or your enemy.
Yes, that's right. If we can break free from the ego's influence, false ego's influence, then the mind can work as our friend. Particularly this manas, becomes the decision maker in the mind. That part that has its impulsive reactions to the stimuli of the world. But how can we find that self-realization, striving for that self-realization? How can I find it? What's my next step to find it? In what ways do I need to discipline myself? In what ways do I need to contemplate? In what ways do I need to reflect? What do I need to hear? How do I need to act in order that my sense of identity is loosening from the body and the mind and being reposed in my actual self? That's a challenge. And no matter how high we climb on the material ladder, wherever we climb, whenever we climb, we don't walk away from that dog of ego. It follows us really. It's always right there, sniffing at our legs. It's never letting go. No matter how materially successful we are, it doesn't move us an inch forward in terms of self-realization. That's going to require our very concentrated effort. And we'll hear today about Indra. Indra, for those unfamiliar, Indra, the Bhagavatam and other texts like the Puranas and Mahabharata, they're kind of laying out a universal kind of map that's got 14 different layers, right? 14 different planetary systems, different gradations of experience. The earthly gradation is where we're at, and that's considered kind of middle of the road. But Indra rules in those upper realms, and he's achieved that position through very disciplined and dharmic living for many lifetimes. It's the rarest of positions in the material world. It requires a type of integrity that is hard for us to imagine, but the motive behind it is still not entirely pure. There's this, because the ego, it's not a position for one who has transcended ego. It's a position for one who's deeply invested in ego, or deeply influenced by ego. Let's put it that way. But is doing it in a very dharmic way, doing it in a way that's very much following the Vedic teachings with the goal of operating harmoniously with what the Vedas teach.
Right. Which is why we see Indra, get into trouble a couple times.
Well,
Yeah,
because his motive still is impure, so the world is going to move in a way to break that ego, right? It's going to, and you know, we do see Indra humbled in the Bhagavatam, particularly when we get to the 10th canto. He's humbled by Krishna himself. Very very special way to be humbled, but no, he climbed very, very high, but the dog of ego was still there. What will it take to break it? And we're going to see that his enemies, like Bali, the demons, you know, that he was heading up the army of the demons right in the battle, that his enemy, who he sees as just totally adharmic, is going to speak to him this dharmic philosophy, this Vedic philosophy, this practically straight out of Bhagavad-gita philosophy, and just almost put him in his place. We get some really nice instructions through the mouth of Bali today.
So Prabhu, if I'm sort of distilling down what you just were sharing, the challenge is not to destroy the ego, because it's always going to be there with us, right? But to align it with our true identity as Krishna's servant.
That's exactly right. That there is this function within the mind called the false ego. It can be reprogrammed. You know, it's kind of like we have three apps. If our mind is a computer, it's like there's three applications working in it. One is called the manas, which is this impulsive, pre-programmed impulsive responses to the stimulus of this world. There's certain colors we like, there's certain tastes we like, there's certain shapes we like, there's, you know, certain sounds we like, and others that we don't like. And the yogis are saying that our mind has been programmed through our experience to have impulsive responses to these things. That's one part of the mind. And then there's another part of the mind called the buddhi, which is more reflective, or like entirely reflective. It's the reasoning part of the mind. It doesn't have, it's not knee-jerk automatic responses. It can that application within the bigger, larger mind can reach down into our subconscious mind the way that an application can reach down into our hard drive of a computer and pull up files that aren't currently being used, that we're not currently conscious of, and deep into the subconscious mind. And it can pull up that information, or it can seek information outside, just as a computer can also reach out into the internet and pull down files, etc. And then it can process that information and then apply what it's processing to the circumstances that it's in. So whereas the impulsive mind says, I like that, I want to get it, the buddhi, it can function in a far more reflective way, and it can research, and then it could come to a conclusion that actually that won't be helpful. Actually, what the manas is programmed to respond to favorably might be in the long term unfavorable. And although the impulsive mind is saying pleasure lies right there, the reflective part of the mind, the buddhi, may indicate that, you know what, you will get some temporary pleasure there, but it won't be worth the pain. It won't be worth what you give up for it. And then the two of them may interact in such a way where one is trying to influence the other, or each is trying to influence the other. And if we train that intellect, that buddhi, that reasoning faculty within the mind to be strong, if we feed it really clear, strong information, and if we exercise it like a muscle so that it becomes stronger and stronger, then our reasoning can gain control of the impulsive mind, which can gain control of the senses, and then we can kind of drive our chariot very intentionally through this world and direct ourselves where we want to go.
So sincerely chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, hearing the Bhagavatam, associating these things, like it will influence weakening that grip and strengthening our grip on
chanting that holy name in one sense purifies the entire, it's kind of like a purification program for the entire computer system. you know, and hearing from great souls, also witnessing their example, as well as study, contemplation, reflection on sources of true knowledge, then yeah, all of that will lend weight to that part of to that part of the mind. It'll make it heavier, stronger, more influential. And we can see that when yogis are really like that, then they're just moving through the world and passing all the tests, and they're in control. They're free. Actually, they're free. You know?
Right. Right. When the ego's gripping you, it's when that dog is on you, and then that
it follows.
letting go, and then you
it'll take a very determined effort to send it back. Right? Like the dog's following you down the street. I'd imagine people that own dogs, sometimes they leave home and the dog's just wants to be with you the whole day.
Sure.
And you got to send it back, and you try, but it keeps coming, and you try and it keeps coming. It'll take a very concerted effort for the false ego to let go. And you know, we never know where it's going to come, what will help us. And here's a case where like the enemy is speaking the truth. And it's Indra responds to it in a very interesting way. So we can read about that today.
Amazing. Let's dive in.
Okay. You ready? Let's do the shlokas like we did yesterday. Yeah. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Are you interested in Saraswati, the goddess of learning?
Yeah.
Have you looked into her at all?
Not extensively.
You seem like the kind of lady that appreciates the goddesses.
I love the goddesses.
Okay.
Of course. I say, oh my goddess, instead of oh my God. I do.
Well, we worship her before reading Bhagavatam every day. You're familiar with the story of Keshava Kashmiri in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavat?
Are you willing to remind me of it?
Well, that Sri Chaitanya, when he's young, when he's playing the Leela of a young teacher in Navadvip, he's sitting on the bank of the Ganges River, and he's, even though he's a young man, he's got the reputation as like an incredibly powerful scholar. And then Keshava Kashmiri shows up, who's known as the Digvijaya Pundit. He's conquers in all four directions. This was like the competition. This was like the Super Bowl of India. It was an intellectual Super Bowl. Who's the most powerful intellectual in debate? And he showed up on the scene. Do you know this story? Sri Chaitanya greets him. It says, "Oh, we're so honored to have your presence here. Could you please bless us by saying some verses in glorification of the Ganges River?" They were sitting on the bank of the Ganges.
Oh, yes.
Starting to ring a bell?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So he effortlessly composed 100 verses, poetic verses, on the spot, glorifying the Ganges River. And then young Sri Chaitanya said, "Oh, that was wonderful. Incredible output there. Could you please do us the favor of going a little deeper into this and share in some of these verses the special ornaments that you used in these verses, as well as some of the faults of the verses?" And he's like, "Faults? What faults are you talking about?"
There were no faults.
There were no faults in that. Yeah. You see, he was a devotee of the goddess Saraswati, and she always blessed him. That she was always like on his tongue. Whatever he would speak, it was just blessed by her. So it was always full of learning and fully accurate and fully beautiful. You know, she's kind of the goddess of the different arts too, music and so on. So, you know, poetry. So he always had that blessing. And so when someone to suggest to him, I would imagine it was almost like someone was insulting the goddess Saraswati, maybe, you know? I don't, but you know, he had his own ego there too, no matter how high he
Back to our
climbed.
nugget.
Yeah, no matter how high he climbed,
Yeah.
it followed him. And so then Sri Chaitanya not only blew his mind by quoting verses that he had just reeled off like at super high speed, but actually identifying faults that were there, faults in the grammar and in the composition. And it just kind of like shook him to the core. He didn't really know what to say. He was kind of embarrassed. And Sri Chaitanya was just kind of real soft with him, said, you know, go home for tonight and let's come back and talk tomorrow. And when he went home, he started to pray, dear Goddess Saraswati, what have I done? Have I offended you in some way that you would no longer bless me like this? What have I done? It was painful. It was hard for him. But Sri Chaitanya dealt with him just so gently and respectfully that it gave him the chance to be vulnerable himself and to open up. And he had a dream where the Goddess Saraswati explained that this was no ordinary scholar. This was no ordinary boy. This was him. This was Krishna himself. This is the supreme person. And you know, he's beyond me, you know, like, and so through that, Keshava Kashmiri became a great Vaishnava. But that story is told in great detail in both Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. So anyway, we worship that Goddess Saraswati. We think of her, we bring our mind to her. Here, we bring our mind to Lord Vishnu in the form of Narayana Rishi, into Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, because this is it's a devotional act and it's an act of learning, reading Bhagavatam. And unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the text himself. Okay.
Jai, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Such a beautiful.
You'll like that. You got to read. You got to read that. Oh, you'll like that.
We'll read that today.
Okay.
Shalmi wrote on the message board that this Leela is such a good example of Christians removing someone's prideful false ego. We will read today.
Exactly. He did it in such a nice way. Okay. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, entitled King Indra Annihilates the Demons. And today we're beginning with text number 9.
Text 9.
Spoken by Bali. Okay, so here we have, I picture him wearing black.
Oh.
Armor.
Black armor.
Yeah. I don't know if that was mentioned or something, but somehow that's in my mind. I picture him like, if this was going to be a film, who's that guy that played, who's the superhero of the ocean?
Oh.
Aquaman.
Oh, yeah. That I know
that guy,
him.
that big guy.
I know exactly. Yeah, I can look up his name.
Maybe someone like him, you know, like really strong, powerful. And now he's in the heat of battle. And there it is, Jason Momoa.
Exactly, Jason Momoa. Yeah.
Okay, something like that. But he would have to really work up his evil kind of, you know. I don't know if he plays those kind of roles where he's like the real evil guy, but
I think he's usually.
I don't know.
But...
Or at least like furious on the battlefield. Maybe evil isn't the word I'm looking for, but furious, you know? He's got fury in him. Okay, so now he's speaking to Indra. Indra was just saying, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to send you back down. You're going down. I'm going to make it happen. I've got the power to control who's going where in the universe. You think you can step up? No, I'm knocking you down. And Bali's going to respond, speaking Bhagavad-gita to him, essentially. This verse is interesting. Yeah.
Should we dive in?
Please.
8:11:9. You demigods think that your own selves are the cause of your attaining fame and victory. Because of your ignorance, saintly persons feel sorry for you. Therefore, although your words afflict the heart, we do not accept them.
Okay, this was, you know, like he's probably got like a trident or a spear in his hand or a sword or some kind of battle axe as he's saying
All of
this.
that, or all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, as he's saying this, you know, you demigods, you think that your own selves are the cause of your attaining fame and victory. Well, doesn't everybody think that way? Isn't everyone? No, not the sadhus. They don't think that way. Right? They understand something
Ego.
different. Yeah, yeah. He says, because of your ignorance. He's not even saying, you know, the kind of thing you expect a warrior to say is, you're nothing. You know, I'm so much more powerful than you. Just watch, feel my arrows, you know, or something, you know, like something like that. You know, they'd say, you know, as they burn through your body and as your blood drains on the battlefield, you know, like you expect that kind of thing, you know?
Yes.
But he's actually, you know, approaching them on the level that a sadhu would approach them, a level of a brahmana would approach them, a level of a holy man would approach them. And just to kind of rub it in a little bit, he says the saintly persons, the sadhus, it says sadhu sochanam. Saintly persons pity you. The way that you're talking, saintly person, people that really understand how the world works, they look at people like you and the way you're talking and the way that you're behaving, and they think this guy is in such deep illusion that I have nothing for him but pity. You know,
Can you imagine anything worse than your supposed enemy on the battlefield saying that to you?
Yeah, the sadhus pity you. You know, this one film, I think I've talked about it on the show before, but there's this film about Joan of Arc. And are you into Joan of Arc?
I mean, I'm not into Joan of Arc.
Okay, I bet
seen
you
a
like
movie
it.
on it, but
Okay.
yeah.
It was that movie. I think it was called The Messenger, and
Yes.
and so she's standing on the battlefield, like, and she's got like this banner, you know, that she carries, and it's flowing in the breeze, and she's standing in front of like the whole British army, and she's just from her heart, very sincerely, you know, saying, "I pity your souls." You know, like you know, you're doing such evil acts. I pity your souls, like that. And when she says it, it's got such a tone of righteous anger. Or I don't even know if anger is the exact right word, but
A conviction. There's like
yeah,
this-
yeah, very righteous conviction, and then almost pleading with him, turn around and go. She's saying, like, go back. You have a chance now not to bury yourself deeper
It's
into
not too
some.
late. Don't do this.
It's not. Yes, exactly. But she also says those kind of warrior kind of things, like, you know, she was saying stuff like, but if you don't and you choose to fight this battle, I think she said something like, you know, I've seen enough blood, but if you do fight, then we will stand and fight you. And I promise you that it will be your blood that soaks this battlefield. And,
Wow. Make me want to watch this movie again.
yeah, it's powerful. And so I would expect to hear something more like that. But he's saying, you know, the sadhus pity you. They pity you because you're in so much illusion that you're confused in this world, and such a confused person is doomed to suffer. You know, this goes straight to Bhagavad-gita. You know, there's a famous verse in Bhagavad-gita 3:27. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara, that's false ego, vimudhatma. That means when the atma is vimudha, is bewildered by, is confused by the ahankara. Ahankara vimudhatma kart aham. Karta aham. Do you know what karta means? Karta means the doer. The actual, the cause of an activity. Karta aham. Aham means I. I am the doer. Iti manyate. That's how they're thinking. The confused person is thinking, I am the doer. All of my activity, and that's what Bali is saying to Indra. You demigods, you're so confused. You're so confused. It's pitiful. You're so confused that saintly people look at you with pity, because you think that your own selves are the cause of your attaining fame and victory. But you're not, actually. And this idea, what do you mean? I'll read the translation of that 327. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of the false ego, this one application in the mind, it thinks themselves to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So there are these influences in nature that are making the world shift and move in different ways. And we think that we're doing it. Now, later on in the Gita, in the 18th chapter, text 18:14 through 16, Krishna is going to describe to Arjuna that any action that takes place in this world, in the universe in which we're living, that there are actually 5 causes of the particular action, 5 factors to that action. He mentions that there's the place, and by place he means there's the body itself. And then there's the the karta, the performer, which means us, the soul, that little spark of energy. Then he says there's the senses. And the senses, of course, when we're speaking in the way that the yogis describe the senses, it's not just the 5 knowledge acquiring senses that we speak of, but also the senses of action, the ability to move through with the legs or to manipulate things with the hands, the voice, etc.
And also the 3 of the mind, the 3 subtle?
And the mind would be the 11th sense. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the body, there's the performer, the self, the spark of spiritual energy, the soul. There's the senses. There's many different types of endeavor, different ways that one can endeavor that give different results. And ultimately, there's what he calls their daivam. There's ultimately the Paramatma, the super soul, which is the kind of the super doer. If these are kind of the super factor, because all the other factors depend on this factor.
Right.
And so what does it mean that we're not the doer? I mean, it seems like we are. It seems like we make decisions and we take actions and we make things happen. And there's a analogy that I use a lot for this, and I've shared it on the show before. But it was, one time Raghunath had arranged for me to teach a gentleman, nice gentleman, who is like a multi-billionaire. Very interesting young man. Yeah. And I asked him, like, how do you make all your money? And like, what do you do? And he had all of these clever schemes that just made him tons and tons and tons of money. It's like he's a real creative thinker.
Like, were they legal or were
they were all legal?
Okay.
But they were just like seeing opportunities that most people just don't see. And then when you have that much money, then you can not only see it but make it happen.
Right.
But when he spoke with me, he said he wanted to study Bhagavad-gita or yoga philosophy. But the first thing he said, I walked into his apartment and he sat me down and he said, I just want to say I don't believe in God, I don't believe in religion, I don't believe in anything like that. He kind of laid down, he wanted me to understand that.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, I don't see it as my job to preach to you or to convince you of anything. But from what I understand, you wanted to study the philosophy of the Bhagavad-gita or the yoga philosophy. My understanding is that I'm supposed to present that to you in an authentic manner. And then you can do with that whatever you like. He says, okay, perfect. That's what I'm looking for.
That's just what Krishna said to Arjuna.
That's true.
Well done, Keshava. Yeah.
Okay, so then, but in that same session, as I'm talking to him, I use this analogy. And I said, if you take a young boy, let's say he's like 5 years old, 6 years old, and let's say he's in a wealthy family, his needs are well provided for. He's never worked a real day in his life or anything like that. And if you ask this boy, how do you get your food? Then that boy might say to you, I get it myself, right? I am the doer, right? Kart aham iti manyate. He thinks I'm the one that gets my own food. Well, how do you do that? Well, I walk over to the refrigerator, I open it up, and I take out the food. Now, in one sense, that seems to be true and provable. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, he can do it, and he got up, he walked to the refrigerator, he opened up the door, he took out the food. But those that know more than he knows that actually he's incapable of getting his own food. There are other factors that are involved that made it possible for him to get his own food. So from the point of view of his parents, we provide his food, right?
Yeah.
We go out into the world, we work, we earn money. With that money, we go to the grocery store to buy food, thinking of him and his welfare and how he would be helpless if we didn't do this for him. Then we transport that food from the store home and we place it in the refrigerator for him. He could walk to that refrigerator all he wants. He's not going to get anything unless we put that food there for him, unless we go out and earn the money to purchase the food and transport the food to that spot where it's available to him. So is he the doer? At first it seemed like yes, he was, but from his perspective, he thinks that he is. He's going to have to hear from a higher source to be able to understand that he's not the doer. And in a similar way,
Great analogy.
We need to be able to hear from a source that has a higher perspective than us to be able to understand that this little spark that's animating this body, us, all we do is desire. And the ability for the body to move through this world is facilitated or not according to our karma. And it's that super factor of the Paramama choosing whether we will be able to carry out our desire, and then his energies, of which include the body, which include the senses, which include the various types of endeavor and the modes of material nature, that will actually make will make the material energy shift in such a way where that little spark's desire is actually carried out. He may get it, he may not get it, but the wise person says, I'm not the doer. Right? If the child were wiser when they're asked, how do you get your food? The child would have responded, my parents provide me the food. That would have been the wiser, more fully informed, clear thinking answer.
Right.
And so when Bali is on that battlefield and he's screaming at Indra, he's saying, you're like that child. You're like a spoiled little child. Sadhus, they pity you. How could you be so confused? You know, how could you be so ignorant? You know, in ignorance, people think themselves to be independent in their actions, and they think themselves the agent of action. You know, but it's only this influence of ahankara that's creating this mistaken conception. It's that's placing the conception of I, ahankara, aham kara. Again, I am the doer, right? It's placing the conception of I to what's really the workings of the material energy. And it's, you know, another way to think of it is like a virtual reality. You know, like in a virtual reality, we may accomplish so many things, like, or in a video game, we may take on an avatar and we may blow up universes, and we may, you know, do all kind of heroic things that we actually really have no ability to do. Right. But we desire to,
And the Matrix, right?
And the Matrix as well. Right. Yeah, and so we may desire to do them, but it's really the designer of the virtual world that's going to decide whether or not we're capable of carrying it out.
Right. So in that analogy, Prabhu, is the free will is the child's choice to go walk to the fridge?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so do you think that people confuse free will with being the doer?
Well, free will allows us to play a part in the factors. but it's a very small part of it.
Because the outcome is still out of our reach. That's already determined beyond us.
We,
But we have the choice to engage or not.
two people will endeavor with the same desire and the same intensity and the same talent, same skill set, and one will be successful and one's not. You know, will the Paramatma grant the desire, and then will the material energy carry it out? Ultimately, that's not up to us. So that's, and therefore, the yogis say, let me do what I can do. Let me engage as I should engage, full-heartedly. Let me perform my righteous duties in this world with full-hearted effort. And at the same time, let me be detached from the results, because ultimately they're not in my hands. And that's the way a wise person moves through this world. Bali is accusing poor Indra of not doing that. Yeah, you are deeply covered by the false ego, and not only, like, it would have been one thing if he said, I pity you, but he's saying those people that you really admire, the sadhus, they pity you. Ouch.
That was his strongest weapon right there.
Yeah. It's a very interesting thing to say on the battlefield. I guess he might have been thinking he'll lose heart if I say this, you know? I'm not sure, but let's see where this goes.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Okay, verse 10. Sukadev Goswami said, after thus rebuking Indra, king of heaven, with sharp words, Bali Maharaj, who could subdue any other hero, drew back to his ear the arrows known as Narachas and attacked Indra. Is that how you say it, Prabhu? Narachas, and attacked Indra with these arrows. Then he again chastised Indra with strong words.
Okay, he's coming back with more.
Text 11. Since Maharaj Bali's rebukes were truthful, King Indra did not at all become sorry, just as an elephant beaten by its driver's rod does not become agitated.
Very interesting. Since Maharaj Bali's rebukes were truthful, this does show some glory of Indra, you know? Okay, he's speaking truth, and he doesn't become sorry. But the analogy that they use is like an elephant beaten by its driver's rod does not become agitated. It's almost like it's painful, but it's encouraging at the same time. You know, it's so he accepted it.
Right, he accepted it.
Yeah.
Not resisting it.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yes.
12. When Indra, the defeater of enemies, released his infallible thunderbolt scepter at Bali Maharaj with the desire to kill him, Bali Maharaj indeed fell to the ground with his airplane like a mountain with its wings cut off.
Imagine that. Imagine what this would be like in the film, you know, like a scepter. He's swinging that thing around and releasing it. And that thing is just like flying with incredible power. And it's like a anti-aircraft missile. It takes him down out of his plane. Yeah.
Climax of the film here.
Yeah.
Right. Purport or keep going?
I don't think there are many purports.
There's a little teeny one here.
Okay, what does it got to say?
It says, in many descriptions in Vedic literature, it is found that mountains also fly in the sky with wings. When such mountains are dead, they fall to the ground, where they stay as very large dead bodies.
Mountains are full of life. You know, mountains are full of life.
So cool. And mountains have wings, though. You know,
Yeah,
mountains, I feel that mountains are full of life, but is that saying that the mountains that we hike and climb and ski, like that those are fallen mountains?
I don't know.
How interesting. Okay. Text 13.
Please.
When the demon Jambasura saw that his friend Bali had fallen, he appeared before Indra, the enemy, just to serve Bali Maharaj with friendly behavior.
Friendly behavior.
Friendly behavior. Text 14. The greatly powerful Jambasura, is that correct? Jambasura? Jambasura, carried by a lion, approached Indra and forcefully struck him on the shoulder with his club. He also struck Indra's elephant. Text 15. Being beaten by Jambasura's club, Indra's elephant was confused and aggrieved. Thus, it touched its knees to the ground and fell unconscious.
Whoa.
Imagine seeing that.
Yes.
Text 16.
This is the kind of thing that shakes up the Devas just watching this. Is like, okay, our hero's going down. You know, it's kind of terrifying for them.
Right. Okay. Thereafter, Matali, Indra's chariot driver, brought Indra's chariot, which was drawn by 1,000 horses. Indra then left his elephant and got onto the chariot.
Okay, elephant's got to heal up, and now he's onto the chariot.
Text 17. Appreciating Matali's service, Jambasura, the best of the demons, smiled. Nonetheless, he struck Matali in the battle with a trident of blazing fire.
Whoa. Okay.
Text 18. Although the pain was extremely severe, Matali tolerated it with great patience. Indra, however, became extremely angry at Jambasura. He struck Jambasura with his thunderbolt and thus severed his head from his body.
Whew, took care of that.
Yes. Text 19. When Narada Rishi informed Jambasura's friends and relatives that Jambasura had been killed, the three demons named Namuchi, Bala, and Paka arrived on the battlefield in great haste.
Okay, so it's interesting, right? This is what we were talking about yesterday. Narada is, the sage amongst the Devas. Narada is entirely devoted to Lord Vishnu. You would think Narada would just be rooting for the Devas 100%. But actually, Narada goes to Jambasura's friends and tells them, Jambasura's just been killed. Your friend, Indra just killed your friend. And then they all come running out on the battlefield totally with great haste. They're going to try to kill Indra now.
Okay. Little instigator of Leela here. Right?
Yes.
So text 20. Rebuking Indra with harsh, cruel words that were piercing to the heart, these demons showered him with arrows, just as torrents of rain wash a great mountain. Text 21. Quickly handling the situation on the battlefield, the demon Bala put all of Indra's 1,000 horses into tribulation by simultaneously piercing them all with an equal number of arrows. Oh, couldn't the horses live?
They'll probably live, I think. They're just hurt.
Okay. Thank you for text 22.
I'm not sure about that, but I'm hoping.
Or they were liberated, right?
Yeah.
Paka, another demon, attacked both the chariot with all its paraphernalia and the chariot driver Matali by fitting 200 arrows to his bow and releasing them all simultaneously. This was indeed a wonderful act on the battlefield. Wow. Text 23. Then Namuchi, another demon, attacked Indra and injured him with 15 very powerful golden feathered arrows, which roared like a cloud full of water. Okay,
so one of them aimed at the horses, one of them took out the driver, and then the other aimed straight at Indra.
Okay. Text 24. Other demons covered Indra along with his chariot and chariot driver with incessant showers of arrows, just as clouds cover the sun in the rainy season. Okay. Text 25. The demigods, being severely oppressed by their enemies and being unable to see Indra on the battlefield, were very anxious. Having no captain or leader, they began lamenting like traders in a wrecked vessel in the midst of the ocean.
Whoa. He's getting shaky.
They are. 26. Text 26. Thereafter, Indra released himself from the cage of the network of arrows, appearing with his chariot, flag, horses, and chariot driver, and thus pleasing the sky, the earth, and on all directions. He shone effulgently like the sun at the end of night. Indra was bright and beautiful in the vision of everyone.
Wow.
Wow.
We can't imagine the glorious scene. To see a painting, just like this is really something.
Text 27. When Indra, who is known as Vajradhara, he
carries the thunder. Oh, there he is.
You got it. You got it. The carrier of the thunderbolt saw his own soldiers so oppressed by the enemies on the battlefield, he became very angry. Thus, he took up his thunderbolt to kill the enemies. Continue.
Please.
Text 28. O King Parikshit, King Indra used his thunderbolt to cut off the heads of both Bala and Paka in the presence of all their relatives and followers. In this way, he created a very fearful atmosphere on the battlefield. Man. Text 29. O king, when Namuchi, another demon, saw the killing of both Bala and Paka, he was full of grief and lamentation. Thus, he angrily made a great attempt to kill Indra. Text 30. Being angry and roaring like a lion, the demon Namuchi took up a steel spear, which was bound with bells and decorated with ornaments of gold. He loudly cried, "Now you are killed!" Thus, coming from Indra to kill him, Namuchi released his weapon. Text 31. O king, when Indra, king of heaven, saw this very powerful spear falling toward the ground like a blazing meteor, he immediately cut it into pieces with his arrows. Then, being very angry, he struck Namuchi's shoulder with his thunderbolt to cut off Namuchi's head. Text 32. Although King Indra hurled his thunderbolt at Namuchi with great force, it could not even pierce his skin. It is very wonderful that the famed thunderbolt that had pierced the body of Vritrasura could not even slightly injure the skin of Namuchi's neck.
Amazing, because Vritrasura was almost impossible to defeat, and yet Indra took him down with his thunderbolt. He sends the same thunderbolt at Namuchi, and it doesn't even injure his skin.
Wow. How? It is 7:59, just for awareness.
I think we can finish it up. Let's finish the chapter.
Let's go. Text 33. When Indra saw the thunderbolt return from the enemy, he was very much afraid. He began to wonder whether this had happened because of some miraculous superior power. Text 34. Indra thought, formerly, when many mountains flying in the sky with wings would fall to the ground and kill people, I cut their wings with this same thunderbolt. Text 35. Vritrasura was the essence of the austerities undergone by Tvasta.
Yeah, he was a priest that conjured him out of the fire.
Okay. Yet the thunderbolt killed him. Indeed, not only he, but also many other stalwart heroes whose very skin could not be injured even by all kinds of weapons were killed by the same thunderbolt. Text 36. But now, although the same thunderbolt has been released against a less important demon, it has been ineffectual. Therefore, although it was as good as a Brahmastra, it has now become useless like an ordinary rod. I shall therefore hold it no longer. Text 37. Sukadeva Goswami continued. While the morose Indra was lamenting in this way, an ominous, unembodied voice said from the sky, "This demon Namuchi is not to be annihilated by anything dry or moist."
Okay.
38.
Dry or moist. What do we
The
got?
voice also said, "O Indra, because I have given this demon the benediction that he will never be killed by any weapon that is dry or moist, you have to think of another way to kill him."
What to do?
39. After hearing the ominous voice, Indra, with great attention, began to meditate on how to kill the demon. He then saw that foam would be the means, for it was neither moist nor dry.
Foam.
Text 40. Thus Indra, king of heaven, severed Namuchi's head with a weapon of foam, which was neither dry nor moist. Then all the sages satisfied Indra, the exalted personality, by showering flowers and garlands upon him, almost covering him.
Wow.
Text 41.
Vishvavasu.
Thank you. Visvavashu and Paravashu, the two chiefs of the Gandharvas, sang in great happiness. The kettle drums of the demigods sounded, and the Apsaras danced in jubilation. Text 42. Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other demigods began killing the demons who opposed them, just as lions killed deer in a forest. Text 43. O king, when Lord Brahma saw the imminent total annihilation of the demons, he sent a message with Narada, who went before the demigods to make them stop fighting. Text 44. The great sage Narada said, "All of you demigods are protected by the arms of Narayana, the supreme personality of Godhead, and by his grace you have gotten the nectar. By the grace of the goddess of fortune, you are glorious in every way. Therefore, please stop this fighting." Text 45. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, accepting the words of Narada, the demigods gave up their anger and stopped fighting. Being praised by their followers, they returned to their heavenly planets. Text 46. Following the order of Narada Muni, whatever demons remained on the battlefield took Bali Maharaj, who was in a precarious condition, to the hill known as Astagiri.
Astagiri.
Text 47. There on that hill, Sukacharya brought to life all the dead demonic soldiers who had not lost their heads, trunks, and limbs. He achieved this by his own mantra known as Samjivani. Text 48. Bali Maharaj was very experienced in universal affairs. When he regained his senses and memory of the grace of Sukacharya, he could understand everything that had happened. Therefore, although he had been defeated, he did not lament.
Okay. That's the end of the chapter.
Right. Wow. That was something else. Thus ends the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Indra Annihilates the Demons.
Indra is, in one sense, we're nothing like Indra, but in another sense, we're all like Indra. We're trying to be good. We want to do the right thing. At the same time, we still kind of want our own separate, independent enjoyment. We all kind of want to be the center of attention. We want material satisfaction. We want the girl. We want the house. We want the this. We want the that. You know, we want all the things that he's got.
Our pride gets the best of us.
Yeah, and sometimes he gets it, and sometimes he doesn't, and it leaves him in a situation where sometimes he's flying high. Look. Can you imagine what it would be like that all the demigods are showering flowers upon you and the upstars? It's like the most beautiful women in the universe are dancing to praise you, you know, to celestial music, and they're all raining flowers down upon you, and you're shining like the sun. And everybody's like, thank you for being so heroic and saving us all. You know, the high you must get from that.
Like how to not get puffed up by that.
Yeah. But then, you know, things turn and suddenly he's on the other end of it. And so we're kind of like Indra. We think, hey, we're good people and we're devotees of God and we try to do the right thing. And Bhagavatam's saying that's not enough. That kind of thinking just keeps you stuck in the material world. You got to go deeper. You got to think more deeply about this. You got to strive for something more pure inside yourself. Strive for self-realization. Don't give up. Don't settle for anything on the way. Keep going until you reach it. All right. Thank you so much, Kishore Gopi. You read that very nicely.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for this service opportunity and time with you.
Yeah, enjoy it. Me too. And Linda, do you have any takeaways for us today?
I got a few great ones.
All right.
Okay, so break free from false ego to have your mind work as your friend.
Okay.
The confused person thinks they are the doer.
But they're not.
The ability for the body to move through this world is karma and our desires, but the Paramatma actually decides. Engage in righteous duties and be detached from the results.
Okay.
Strive for self-realization and don't settle. And beware the dog of false ego who's always sniffing at our leg.
It's funny how he's just sniffing. He's just sniffing at my leg. I don't know why.
That was a test, Prabhu. That was a test. That dog was bringing something for you to learn.
I guess.
You didn't
I don't know who it was.
You didn't suppress it. You turned towards it. You listened, and you gave it love and devotion. You offered it to Krishna, and away he went.
Okay. Who are you? That was my question. Like, who are you? Do we know each other? And what is your message? I was trying to determine that.
Probably good.
Thank you, everybody, so much for spending this morning, for most of you, this morning with us. Enjoyed reading Bhagavatam with you. Tomorrow we're back at the same time, and Ruggle will be back, and Meryl will be back, and we'll see what they have to share with us.
Sure, they have some wonderful adventures or time.
Always.
Resting. Always.
Otherwise, it's another beautiful day for a beautiful day, and let the magic flow.